The negotiation between Muye and Yunyin broke down due to the appearance of Golden Horn and Silver Horn. The second-generation Thunder Shadow died, and the second-generation Huoying was seriously injured and fled with his subordinates. As he travels through Chengzhi Village's collective collection, he already knows the plot and knows that he is choosing the future leader of Kiba. On the battlefield, Qianshou looked at the crowd and asked, "Who are you willing to stay and fight against the Golden Horn and Silver Horn, to buy us time to escape?" Divine level selection activated, option 1. Hesitate for a second and give up the future position of the Fire Shadow to the Ape Flying Sun Slash, following the development of the plot, task reward. Wind escape mastery at full level, option 2. Strive for the position of the Fire Shadow and cut off the path of the Ape Flying Sun Slash, task reward. Obtain the body of an inactive immortal from the Whirlpool Clan. Zhicun Tuanzang took the lead and stood up with a loud roar. Second generation master. You go. I'll cut off the rear. The position of Fire Shadow. I will never give you the Monkey Flying Sun Slash. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. This time. I will never give way. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. 15 years of wooden leaves. The ninja villages of the four major powers have pushed the ninja war to an unprecedented climax. The second-generation Water Shadow and the second-generation Earth Shadow perished together, and Yunyin has now signed an agreement with Muye. But the process of signing the agreement, an unexpected event occurred that no one had expected. Just as the agreement between the second-generation Hokage Qianshou and the second-generation Raikage AI had just been completed, Golden Horn and Silver Horn suddenly emerged with the cloud-hidden ninja. 9-tailed beings who occupy reason will directly kill the second-generation Thunder Shadow, which is bound to kill all the Konoha ninjas here. And Qianshou Kaijian was already seriously injured, fleeing towards the direction of Kiba with the remaining elite ninjas. Half a year has passed, and the plot has finally walked like a timeline. A young man beside Qianshou Zhang was running at full speed, murmuring with words in his mouth. But due to a group of people running away in a hurry, they have no idea what this population is talking about. And the only person who can say this is the traveler who knows the timeline of the Fire Shadow. Lin Feng. Oh no, he should be called Zhicun Tuanzang now. He was originally a modern office worker, but by some chance, he crossed over to the world of Hokage and took possession of the Shimura collection. Yes, it's that black-handed wooden leaf, an extremely old silver coin. It can be said that it is the black hand that runs through the entire ninja world, creating roots to deal with the darkness of Konoha, which even dark ninjas cannot touch. Zhicun Tuanzang. At first, he was very devastated, but he didn't expect to cross over and become a member of Zhicun Tuanzang. But fortunately, he has received all the memories of his predecessor, and the most satisfying thing is this handsome face. You should know that even Gangshou and Matsuo will blush when they retrieve photos of their youth from Shimura's collection in the future. It can be imagined how handsome he was when he was young. Zhicun Tuanzang is well aware of how cruel war can be, so he has always held the position of second-generation Hokage guard. After all, Qianshou's strength is not a joke. So Zhicun Tuanzang received a disguised protection and silently waited for an opportunity. And this opportunity is coming today. He has been waiting for it since crossing over. An unpredictable event, a choice that determines the future of Kiba. However, Zhicun Tuanzang is also very clear that there is one person who has been waiting for the opportunity. That is one's own friend, the most powerful player among the leaves of wood, Monkey Flying Sun Slash. The other few people naturally don't need to pay attention, as Xiaochun and Mito Menyen don't have that qualification. As for Uchiha Mirror, it is even more so. He is a member of the Uchiha clan and has absolutely no chance of becoming a Hokage. The remaining two people are Zhicun Tuanzang and Yuanfei Rigian, who are the most powerful candidates for the future Hokage position. Soon, Zhicun Tuanzang put away his thoughts in his heart. Because it's really important to escape now, after all, there are two crazy people chasing after them, Gold Horn and Silver Horn. But what made Zhicun Tuan secretly curse in his heart was that the second generation Laying was killed directly after only 10 minutes of supporting at the golden and silver corners. However, upon careful consideration, it is also extremely normal for the Golden Horn and Silver Horn to possess 6 ninja tools and 9-tailed chakras. It's already good that the second generation Lei Ying's elderly body can withstand a few minutes. With a solemn expression on his face, Qianshou Zhang raced forward, but he could still feel the terrifying chakra slowly approaching behind him. At this moment, his face was so solemn that it was about to drip water, and his black pupils emitted an inexplicable light. Soon, a resolute expression appeared on his face, as if he had made an important decision. Step on it. In an instant, Qianshou's footsteps suddenly stopped like the wind. Second generation adult. Monkey Flying Sun slaying others quickly stopped and returned to the side of Qianshou gate, questioning with a puzzled expression on their faces. Although they know that there are strong enemies chasing after them in the rear, they dare not question Qianshou's behavior because he is the backbone of everyone. In 1,000 hands, his eyes flickered with light, and he slowly took a deep breath. The person chasing us from behind is the Golden Horn and Silver Horn, possessing 6 ninja tools and a 9-tailed chakra. 1,000 hands slowly said. So we still need to stop. Mito Minion's eyes suddenly widened, and his words were full of panic. Because he knows that if he doesn't run at this moment, he really can't run if he is caught up by any two monsters. And at this moment the time has come to decide the winner. Zhicun Tuanzang and Ape Flying Sun Slash instantly understood the thoughts of 1,000 hands. The enemy is in the rear, and in 1,000 hands, he chooses to stop, which means he wants to, divine level selection activated, option 1. Hesitate for a second and give up the future position of the fire shadow to the Ape Flying Sun Slash, following the development of the plot, task reward. Wind escape mastery at full level, option 2. Strive for the position of the fire shadow and cut off the path of the Ape Flying Sun Slash, task reward. Obtain the body of an inactive immortal from the Whirlpool Clan, boom. In an instant, Zhicun Tuanzang's eyes flickered with terrifying brilliance, and an unparalleled aura erupted from his body. Pulling out the long blade from behind, he suddenly swung it, and a gust of strong wind instantly swept up. Second generation master. You go. I'll cut off the rear. Zhicun Tuanzang looked righteous and resolute, his eyes filled with determination and a shocking stillness like a mountain. With a majestic and overwhelming aura, one was instantly shocked by Zhicun Tuanzang. This guy. The next second, Ape Flying Sun Slash's face suddenly changed, his pupils tightened, filled with endless shock. Because he never expected that Zhicun Tuanzang would be one step faster than himself, just one step. Tuanzang. Starting from today, you will succeed as the third generation Hokage of Kiba Village, and no one can have any objections. A smile of relief appeared between the 1,000 hands. Then he pulled out the golden thunder sword behind him, and the peak momentum of the shadow level suddenly erupted at this moment, charging directly towards the back. I'll cut it off later, as for the wooden leaves. I'll leave it to you, Tuanzang. At this moment, the back of the 1,000-handed door became incredibly majestic, like a giant in the sky. But Zhicun Tuanzang smiled inwardly. Me. Zhicun Tuanzang, never give way. Chapter 2. Apes Flying. Hesitation leads to defeat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Qianshou Kaima made this decision from the moment he was chased by Golden Horn and Silver Horn. Although the result exceeded his expectations, he initially thought that the Monkey Flying Sun Slash would seize the opportunity. It seems that Tuanzang, who has been by his side for so long, has learned some skills. 1,000 hands will not be biased, because he knows it is a fair competition, and the Monkey Flying Sun Slash is defeated. Hesitation leads to defeat. The only thing he could do was to use his life to resist the golden and silver horns, and fight for time to escape for the hope of these wooden leaves in the future. If he were to be 20 or 30 years younger and return to the peak period of fighting alongside his elder brother Qianshou, to slay Uchiha Kwana. Gold and silver horns. Just a group of mice. But time never forgives, no matter who, they will be polished and sharpened by the polishing of time. Escape. With a command from Zhicun Tuanzang, the 5 of them quickly fled towards the direction of Mai. At this moment, there must be no hesitation, otherwise the death between 1,000 hands will be in vain. On the way to escape, Ape Flying Sun Slash took a deep look at Zhicun Tuanzang, his eyes flickering with unwillingness and resentment. He hates why he didn't stand up earlier, just 1 second away. The 3rd generation Hokage of Kiba village belongs to him. But everything is ultimately in the past, and the seeds of regret are quietly planted in his heart. Hurry up. Keep up. Zhicun Tuanzang, with 1 man in charge and 10,000 men unable to escape, directly fought a bloody path for the few people behind him. Feng Dun's ninjutsu swayed wildly like not wanting to chakra, unable to stop at all. His aura was like a rainbow, and his body was covered in crimson blood, like a Shura walking out of hell. But upon closer inspection, there was not much change in Zhicun Tuanzang's face, and there were no scars left by the Yunyin ninja on his body. The blood was completely the result of the Yunyin ninja being killed and falling onto him. A path piled up alive with the bodies of Yunyin's rebellious endurance. How did this guy's strength suddenly improve so much? And chakra feels like it can't be used up. Huoying and others were extremely shocked, especially Ape Flying Sun Slash, who looked at Zhicun Tuanzang with an almost indescribable gaze as if he were a god of killing. He can be said to be very familiar with the strength of Zhicun Tuanzang, even more so than himself. I haven't completely reached the shadow level between myself and my uncle. But now, the momentum and strength of Zhicun Tuanzang have completely surpassed themselves, and even vaguely reached the level of a teacher's 1,000 hands. And this also made Ape Flying Sun's face a bit gloomy, and his mood couldn't help but feel heavy several times. If that's the case, then Zhicun Tuanzang is hiding even deeper than himself. It's really a creepy trick. Thinking of this, the monkey Flying Sun Slash couldn't help but feel a chill behind him. My friend, how deep is it hidden? Even I don't know his details. Quickly, in a state of being possessed by the killing god in Zhicun Tuanzang, they broke through the encirclement of Yunyin and returned to the camp of Muye. What's going on? How do you say this, 2nd generation master? The Konoha ninjas who came to rescue were instantly shocked and they saw this tragic scene. We've been tricked. Yunin's golden horn and silver horn suddenly rebelled, killing the 2nd generation Thunder Shadow and inflicting heavy damage on the 2nd generation Lord Mu. The teacher stayed alone to block the enemy's pursuit in order to cover our retreat. The monkey Flying Sun shed tears and spoke in a choked and sorrowful tone. It is truly touching and has extremely strong rendering power. No. Where's that guy from Tuanzang? Yuji Bojing suddenly discovered that Zhicun Tuanzang was not among the crowd, and he was also not on their side. He was still by my side just now. Why did he disappear in the blink of an eye? Mito Gate Inflammation was also greatly alarmed. Because after breaking out of the encirclement, he kept running wildly, and as he was originally hiding on the left wing in Zhicun Tuan, he couldn't care about the other party. White-eyed. A ninja from the Hinata clan had bulging veins in his eyes at this moment, and his white eyes instantly opened to look into the distance. Quickly, he discovered the figure of Zhicun Tuanzang and the incredibly powerful chakra wave. He seems to have killed back. The Hinata ninja's voice trembled slightly as he spoke out. With his white eyes, he could certainly see the invincible posture of Zhicun Tuanzang, and the Yunyin ninjas fell one by one under his butcher's knife. Kill it back. What? This guy is crazy. Mito Menyen and others were suddenly shocked and lost their voices. Did he go back? He didn't mean anything. He had already sat firmly in the position of the fire shadow. The monkey flying Sun Slash also couldn't figure out what Zhicun Tuanzang's act really meant. Because he knew that the other party was also an ambitious person and would never do such foolish things. The monkey flying Sun Slash really can't guess the reason why Zhicun Tuanzang killed him back. Is it to save Qianshou Kaijian? If that's the case, so he can only thinking of this, Ape Flying Sun's eyes couldn't help but flash with a hint of coldness. The Zhicun team hid back to rescue the second-generation Hokage who died on the way, but was killed, so the location of Hokage would be vacant. As the most outstanding disciple of the second-generation Hokage, he should inherit the throne and become the new Hokage, the third-generation Hokage. He is an ambitious person, and those who achieve great things are not bound by small details. Of course we cannot be soft-hearted either. Because of a sentence spoken by Shun Fei Rizhan, a profound and clear figure, by chance. Hesitation you will lose. I am not sure about the small theater Zhicun Tuanzang in the heart of monkey flying Sun Slash, and he is not going back to rescue Qianshou Kaijian. The reason why he went back was because he remembered that the silver horn was killed by the thousand-handed gate, the golden horn was severely damaged, and the 6 paths of ninja were left behind. He came back for 2 purposes. Firstly, obtain the ninja tools passed down by the 6 immortals. Secondly, let Qianshou Fang inform herself of her research during her lifetime when she is on the brink of death. That's his goal. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 3. The last entrustment between thousand hands. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. In the forest, the battle is fierce. The interaction between Qianshou and Jinjiao has reached a white-hot stage. At this moment, the golden and silver horns have already floated the 9-tailed chakras inside their bodies around their bodies. They have gone completely crazy, influenced by the 9-tailed chakra, and only want to tear apart the thousands of hands in front of them. Sure enough, these 2 lunatics are not so easy to deal with. Qianshou's face turned pale, with bloodstains appearing at the corners of his mouth. He held a golden thunder sword and plunged it into the ground. It is obvious that he is at the end of his rope at this time, and the reason why he can persist for so long is entirely due to his flying thunder god's skill. Following that, the battle became increasingly fierce, and Qianshou Fei used the flying thunder god slash to kill the silver horn. But it also angered Jinjiao, who still had a trace of rationality, and completely burst out of anger in his heart, bound to perish with Qianshou Ko. Qianshou Zhang once again used the flying thunder god slash, but this time he was unable to avoid it as smoothly as killing silver horn. Puzzy. The golden thunder sword pierced into the center of the golden horn, and similarly, the golden horn's right hand, covered in 9-tailed chakras, pierced through the chest of Qianshou, with blood continuously flowing down. Get lost. With a fierce gaze, a powerful aura erupted from his body, and he kicked Jin Jiao away, who wanted to attack again. Boom! Jin Jiao's body suddenly collided with a boulder in the distance and sank, lying there motionless. And after a few steps back, the 1,000-handed door wobbled and stumbled. He finally leaned against the trees behind him, with a painful expression on his face. If an ordinary person had suffered such a serious injury, they would probably have already died. But Qianshou's physique is different from that of ordinary people, and it is the immortal body of the Qianshou clan. Its vitality and chakra are countless times larger than ordinary people. It can be seen from the fact that the Vortex Juxinai has been able to sustain for so long after being pulled out of its 9 tails. Similarly, as a human pillar force, Vortex Juxinai was able to release the diamond chain and leave a message, but as a human pillar force, AI Luo, died directly. Death. Between 1,000 hands. Death. Jin Jiao slowly stood up, murmuring terrifying words in his mouth. Looking straight into the thousands of hands, my eyes were filled with a murderous intent and endless anger. Bang! The golden horn suddenly stepped on it, and its body shot out like a shell, directly attacking Qianshou. The sharp sound of breaking through the sky rang out. This time, the direction of the golden horn's attack was the head of Qianshou. In despair, I closed my eyes and waited quietly for the arrival of death. Anyway, he is already immortal, just taking a walk early to ease his pain. The red figure of chakra is approaching, and a terrifying killing intent erupts at this moment. Just as Jin Jiao's right hand was about to touch the Qianshou gate, a black shadow suddenly shot out of the Qianshou gate at lightning speed. Boom! In an instant, Jin Jiao's body was struck with a terrifying blow, flying straight backwards like a missile. The strong smell of blood immediately spread into the nose of Qianshou. Opening his eyes, a blood-soaked figure appeared in the sight of 1,000 hands. The originally blurred vision became clear at this moment, and the pupils suddenly shrank in disbelief as they looked at the person blocking in front of them. He is naturally very familiar with this chakra fluctuation, which is Zhicun Tuanzang, who was previously appointed as the third-generation Hokage of Kiba village by himself. Tuanzang. You. The tone between the 1,000 hands was filled with trembling and shock, but at the same time, there was also a hint of comfort. After all, he was in a desperate situation and never thought that someone would come back to save him, and this person was still about to take control of the entire wooden leaf. Zhicun Tuanzang did not choose to answer Qianshou Kaijian, but instead quickly stepped forward and stabbed the blade through Jin Jiao's heart. At this moment, the golden and silver horns that traverse the world of ninja are at this moment officially falling. Teacher Fei Jian. I'm sorry, I'm still late. Zhicun Tuanzang walked up to Qianshou and squatted down, his eyes filled with sadness and grief. Tears flowed down my cheeks, forming 2 tear marks. Ha ha ha. Tuanzang. I really didn't misread anyone. Looking at Zhicun Tuanzang in front of him with 1,000 hands, he smiled freely without paying any attention to his wounds. Teacher Fei Jian. Zhicun Tuanzang is a bit shrouded in confusion. Shouldn't a bitter smile be seen between his 1,000 hands? Life and death are destined, wealth and fortune are in heaven. Isn't that what you said? Between the 1,000 hands, it seemed as if there was a resurgence, and a sunny smile squeezed out from the pale face. These words also stunned Zhicun Tuanzang. Because this sentence was casually spoken by him while traveling to this world, but he never expected to be known by Qianshou. I can rest assured that you are in my village. But I want to ask you one thing, help me take care of the Qianshou clan and cultivate that child of Gangshou into an excellent ninja. This way, I can go face my big brother. With 1,000 hands, he finished all his words in one breath, and then his body slowly became stiff. Immediately after, the right hand that was originally raised also fell to the ground at this moment. Zhicun Tuanzang reached out and closed his eyes between his 1,000 hands, his eyes flickering with complexity. I will take care of the 1,000-handed clan. As for whether Tsunade can become an excellent ninja, it depends on her talent. Zhicun Tuanzang stood up and saluted towards Qianshou's hang. If possible, he would also like to heal Qianshou Finjian and provide an extra layer of insurance for Mai. But unfortunately the heart has been pierced, and Qianshou's heart is completely suspended by that longing for the Qianshou clan. After instructing Zhicun Tuanzang, he had no attachment to this world anymore. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 4. The 3 generations of Thunder Shadow and Fire Shadow in the future. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. A generation of heroes will eventually fall. Zhicun Tuanzang silently mourned for the 1,000-handed door. If comparing Qianshou Zhujian to the cornerstone of exploring the leaves of wood, then Qianshou Kaijian is the person who perfected the leaves of wood, a true pillar. Under the governance of Qianshou Fang, Kiba was well organized and established the Dark Ministry, Ninja School, and various mechanisms. And it also perfectly dealt with the Uchiha clan, allowing them to settle down for a long time. If it weren't for the Nine Tails Rebellion, the timing of the Uchiha coup might have been pushed back a bit. But it cannot be denied that Qianshou Feijian has achieved perfection in handling these matters. So such a person deserves to be respected by his village team. After collecting the 6 ninja tools of the Golden Horn and Silver Horn into the system space, Zhicun Tuanzang returned to the side of Qianshou Feijian. Whoosh whoosh. Just as Zhicun Tuanzang was about to carry his 1,000-handed door, dozens of figures appeared in front of them in an instant. And the costumes on their bodies are the ninjas of Yunyin. In an instant, Zhicun Tuanzang's face turned cold, with a cold gleam in his eyes and a surge of killing intent. Take the golden thunder sword in Qianshou's hand and face the dozens of Yunyin ninjas directly. Don't misunderstand, Konoha ninja. We are subordinates of the second-generation Thunder Shadow. At this moment, a tall and bronze-skinned Yunyin ninja emerged from the crowd. Upon seeing this person's appearance, Zhicun Tuanzang immediately understood their identity. Isn't this exactly the third generation of Thunder Shadow in the future? I didn't expect to meet you here, but it's normal to think about it. According to the plot of the original work, Jin Jiao, who was heavily injured in Qianshou Zhang, died after killing Yin Jiao. Then the third generation Lei Ying came out and picked up a bargain, killed Jin Jiao, and personally went to Muye to apologize. It has to be said that the third generation of Lei Ying is a man who at least dares to take action. What's going on? Yunyin still wants to kill all the fish and kill the net. Zhicun Tuanzang sneered. Has the second-generation Hokage already died? If you're not blind, you should be very clear. Zhicun Tuanzang's cold words did not make AI angry. Instead, he walked forward and bowed 90 degrees to Qianshou's door. If you want to take action, then let's go together. The golden thunder sword in Zhicun Tuanzang's hand flickered with light, and a faint lightning surrounded the sword body. The aura was like a rainbow, as if it could penetrate the sky. Coupled with this blood-stained body, it directly made the Yunyin crowd feel a strong sense of oppression. Please don't misunderstand, Your Excellency. Yunyin was at fault first. After this matter is over, I will personally go to Mai to apologize. Get out of the way. AI's loud roar made all the Yunyin ninjas give way. I hope everything you say can come true. Zhicun Tuanzang left with 1,000 hands behind his back, leaving behind such a cold sentence. If conditions permit, Zhicun Tuanzang really wants to kill all these Yunyin ninjas here. After all, there are 3 generations of Thunder Shadow in the future here, and killing them can solve a lot of problems. But compared to taking over the role of Hokage and sending the body back to Kiba, Shimura Tanzo chose the latter. This benefit is even greater for him than killing the future 3 generations of Lei Ying. Lord AI. Is it really okay for us to let him leave like this? Judging from his strength, it is very likely that he will be the successor of the next 3 generations of Hokage. A Yunyin ninja looked at Yi Yuai with a complex expression and said. After all, at this moment, Mai is at odds with Yunyin Shuehua, and if Jin Jiao and Yin Jiao kill the second generation Huoying, then Mai will become a mortal enemy with them. What? Do you still think the relationship between Mai and Yunyin is not rigid enough? If we dare to kill him and confiscate the body between our hands, then Muye really will never give up with us. Have you ever thought about the consequences? The majestic voice of Yi Yuai Ho rang out. And this also caused a sudden change in the expression of the Yunyin ninja who asked the question. He forgot this ceasefire was proposed by Yunyin because Yunyin couldn't afford it anymore. Muye's surprise troops left him at a loss and unable to resist. If they continue to fight like this, Yunyin may really be destroyed. Even if they don't die under the command of Muye, the surrounding mist and rock hidden are still eyeing them. Once and Muye fall into a never-ending state, then Yunyin is really finished. Put away the bodies of the golden and silver horns, as well as their ninja tools. After taking a deep breath, Yue Ai adjusted her mood and said, Lord Ai. Their ninja is not here. Quickly, a shout came, causing Yue Ai's face to suddenly change. Then she quickly ran to the side of Jin Xiao and Yin Xiao to check. The ninja tools they held had long disappeared without a trace. But it is not difficult to see signs of using 6 ninja tools in the surrounding battle traces. That is to say, their ninja has been taken away by someone, and that person can only be the only one alive in the field and has been carrying it for the longest time. The person who left with 1,000 hands behind their back. Thinking of this, Yi Yue's face turned a bit pale. That is a legendary ninja tool left by the 6 immortals, with great power. If an elite is allowed to endure using it, they may be able to engage in battle with shadow-level powerhouses without falling into any disadvantage. It can be said that it can add an additional shadow-level powerhouse to a ninja village. Yi Yue couldn't help but clench her fist in her hand, with anger in her eyes. But he knew that it was too late to catch up now, and the reinforcements from Kiba had already arrived. Catch up, I'm afraid I won't be able to come back. I can only exchange things when we go to negotiate with Kiba. Yi Yue is very aware of the importance of the 6 ninja tools. So no matter what the price of the sheep is, he must take those ninja tools back from the hands of Zhicun Tuanzang. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 5. The Strong of the Warring States period, coming to an end. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Quickly, Zhicun Tuanzang broke free from the encirclement of Yunyin, carrying the body of Qianshou Fang. And at this moment, Kiba's troops also took advantage of the situation and arrived at Zhicun Tuanzang. Tuanzang, this way. The Yuji wave mirror released a massive fire escape, instantly presenting a huge wall of fire that directly blocked the pursuing Yunyin rebel ninja troops from behind. At this moment, everyone was shocked. Because what Zhicun Tuanzang did was as they had previously guessed. He really returned to the encirclement and carried the second-generation Hokage back. Quickly, under the cover of the reinforcements from Kiba, Zhicun Tuanzang carried Qianshou Kaijian back to the Kiba camp. Tuanzang. How is the second-generation leader doing? Hurry up. Medical class. Hurry up and have the medical class members come over. At this moment, all the ninjas in Mai are in a mess, and the medical ninjas in the medical class also rush here at this time. But Zhicun Tuanzang ignored it and slowly placed Qianshou Zhang flat on a distant rock. At this moment people have seen clearly the situation between 1,000 hands. The heart has been pierced, eyes closed, and the body has lost its once majestic vitality. In an instant, all the ninjas in Konoha's heart became incredibly heavy. His eyes were filled with sadness and pain, tears streaming down his face. No one expected such a result. The ninja world powerhouse, who once dominated the Warring States period and was famous for his speed, fell like this. Zhicun Tuanzang remained silent, silently picking and placing his wooden leaf protector in front of him. The other ninjas followed the example of Shimura Tanzo and took off their ninja protectors. This is the highest respect for the second-generation Hokage. Qianshou Kaijian was a competent Hokage who, during his reign, brought Kiba to an unprecedented peak. His reputation can be said to have surpassed that of the first Hokage thousand-handed pillar, which is enough to show how successful this Hokage is. Hui Mai, let's bury the second generation of adults first. As for the matter of Yunyin, we will calculate it in the future. The voice of Shimura Tanzo was mixed with chakras, echoing in the ears of all the ninjas in Konoha, filled with majesty. No one dares to question the words of Zhicun Tuanzang, nor does anyone dare to refute them. Because it was he who carried the thousand-handed door back, they already had a slight feeling in their hearts that Zhicun Tuanzang was the third-generation Hokage. Subsequently, Shimura Tanzang lifted his thousand-handed door and left step by step. Along the way, Kiba's ninja also consciously gave way to Shimura Tanzang. Then they followed Zhicun Tuanzang and left together. All the faces present were filled with sadness, and some ninjas who had received help and guidance from 1,000 hands burst into tears. For a moment, the atmosphere of the Kiba army fell into an extremely low state. But only one person's face was a bit unpleasant. That's the monkey flying Sun Slash. Just now, Shimura Tanzo was able to command all the Konoha ninjas, which means that some people have started to recognize Shimura Tanzo. In that case, his chances of becoming Hokage are even more slim. Thinking of this, Ape Flying Sun's mood couldn't help feeling heavy for a few times. The deaths of the second Hokage and the second Raikage officially brought the first ninja war to an end. This ninja world war can be said to be extremely brutal, except for Chengzhi Village who did not participate in the war. The shadows of the other four major powers were all killed. After Zhicun Tuanzang carried Qianshou Finjin back to Mai, he also fell into a coma. Mai, the land of fire, is plunged into great sadness. Second generation Fire Shadow, second generation Thunder Shadow, second generation Earth Shadow, second generation Water Shadow. The deaths of these four shadows signify the end of the Warring States period. The legends they wrote are enough to go down in history. Among the leaves of the wood, there are dragons without a leader, and Zhicun Tuanzang is unconscious. Naturally, no one dares to bury the body between the thousand-handed gates. Even the monkey flying Sun Slayer dared not bring up the matter of burial, and could only wait for Zhicun Tuanzang to wake up. Among the Qianshou clan, the young Gangshou received the news of Chisho Kazuma's death in battle and cried faintly in the arms of the Whirlpool Mito. Vortex Mito also shed tears of sadness, with sadness covering his cheeks. Lord Mito, should we immediately bury the second generation of Lord Mu? Monkey Flying Sun Slash asked cautiously. And the sleeping companions around him, such as Koharu, Mito Menyen, and Yukibo Jing, also looked serious, with sadness in their eyes. The reason why they asked this is because Vortex Mito is currently the head of the Chisho clan, and Chisho Kagami is her uncle, so she naturally makes the decision. Is the three generations of Hokage designated by the imperial court? The collection of Zhicun Tuan. Vortex Mito stared at the four people in front of him and said slowly. But it was not difficult to hear the sadness that filled her words, even though she had tried to suppress it as much as possible. Yes, let Tuanzang take over the position of Hokage before the separation of the second generation Hokage and us. Seeing that everyone was silent, Yuji Boeing hesitated for a moment and spoke out. Yuji Boeing's answer caused a subtle change in the expression of Ape Flying Sun Slayer, but it quickly faded away. Since it was he who carried Kazuma back from the battlefield, and it was also the future Hokage, this matter will be decided when he wakes up. The answer from Vortex Mito filled the faces of the three people present with astonishment. What does she mean by doing this? But only the monkey flying Sun Slash reacted. Whirlpool Mito understands that the thousand-handed clan relies on Shimura Tuanza, which is why they choose to do so. And the most important thing is that if there is a thousand-handed clan supporting Zhicun Tuanzang, then his position in the Hokage is really hopeless. Ape Flying Sun Slash cannot prevent this from happening because he is not qualified to obstruct the decision of Vortex Mito. Use the fastest speed to summon an ice escape ninja to freeze the body between the gates. Until Zhicun Tuanzang wakes up. Yes. I'll start immediately. Mito Menyen nodded solemnly in response. After all, the only thing they can do now is these. Wood leaves changing dynasties, changing weather. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 6. Awakening and going to the land of the thousand-handed clan. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 6. The next day, Zhicun Tuanzang woke up from his slumber. Did you fall asleep? Indeed, the body's load is still too heavy. Awakening, Zhicun Tuanzang looked at the sun in the sky and murmured to himself. Although he now possesses the body of a semi-immortal, the consumption that day was too great, coupled with carrying the body of 1,000 hands all the way back to Kiba. After all, killing from the encirclement of Yunyin and then killing back and forth, these 3 times have brought the physical burden of Zhicun Tuanzang to a climax. The same goes for the mental aspect, so selectively falling into a coma. Well, it doesn't matter anymore. Let's start preparing to take over the position of Hokage. However, we still need to change clothes first. Zhicun Tuanzang looked at the hospital uniform he was wearing and smiled bitterly, feeling speechless. I didn't expect that. I was just exhausted and unconscious, but I was directly taken to the Kiba hospital. Click. At this point, the door was opened. Tuanzang, have you woken up? It is not difficult to see from the clothes taken by the other party that he is a ninja responsible for taking care of Gu Zhicun's group collection. Well, give me the clothes first. Zhicun Tuanzang nodded and then took the clothes from the other person's hand. Hurry up. Go tell Lord Mito that they have already woken up, Lord Tanzo. The ninja suddenly shouted at the door, a sound that could be heard by the entire staff of Kiba Hospital. But it's not difficult to hear the surprise in his words. It is obvious that the awakening of Zhicun Tuanzang is beneficial to him. No, it's a huge piece of good news for Kiba. I slept for a few days. Zhicun Tuanzang was not surprised by his actions, he just shook his head and asked. 1 day. If there are no major health issues with Lord Tuanzang, please come out and take charge of the overall situation as soon as possible. The tone of this ninja is somewhat bitter, as if there is something difficult to express. What's going on? What happened to the wooden leaves? Zhicun Tuanzang's eyebrows suddenly furrowed. Is it difficult for the second-generation Huoying from Chengzhi Village to launch a war and invade the Fire Country now? The body of the second generation of Lord Muhammad has not been buried. Lord Mito said that no matter what, you must wait until you wake up before you can bury Lord Muhammad. Because you are the 3rd generation Hokage designated by the 2nd generation, only Mito University can resist public opinion and be so resolute. The Konoha ninja systematically recounted the events of the day to Takashi Shimura. After listening, Zhicun Tuan's expression changed slightly, and his eyes couldn't help but squint slightly. Vortex Mito. Is this showing goodwill to me? Zhicun Tuan kept whispering in his heart. The behavior of Vortex Mito is equivalent to the other party having already expressed their stance, and the thousand-handed clan supporting themselves in being elected as this Hokage. With the support of the thousand-handed clan, one's position among the wood leaves has become much more stable, and basically no one can shake it. After all, it is well known that a skinny camel is bigger than a horse. Even without the 1st and 2nd generations of Hokage, Chihiro is still the largest clan of Kiba. Well, when it comes to being dragged down by others, I will naturally do my best. A faint smile appeared on Zhicun Tuanzang's face. Even if the Qianshou clan does not show goodwill, he will still allow Qianshou to develop peacefully. He, who is familiar with the plot, knows that in the future, only Tsunade will be able to shine in the realm of ninja. Before awakening Mu Dun, there was not much threat to others, and Zhicun Tuanzang had not yet reached such a sensitive level. It's time to meet the Whirlpool Mito. Zhicun Tuanzang changed his clothes and greeted the ninja before heading to the 1,000-armed clan. Walking on the street, he found that the entire wooden leaf and even the common people were in a state of sadness. The noisy children in the past were also silent, silently watching the rock statue of the second-generation Hokage in the distance. It is truly shocking to see the extent to which Qianshou's reputation among the wooden leaves has reached. However, this is also an extremely normal thing. After all, Kiba has been thriving ever since he took over in Chiba, both in terms of economy and overall ninja strength. Moreover, a series of policies towards civilians are extremely preferential, and no one likes this kind of Huoying. Soon, Zhicun Tuanzang arrived in the land of the Qianshou tribe. In the land of the Qianshou tribe, a heavy burden was revealed, and they were all mourning for the Qianshou people. And a thousand-handed tribe member saw the arrival of Zhicun Tuanzang and clearly recognized him. Just as he was about to speak, he was stopped by Zhicun Tuanzang. "Where is Lord Mito? I want to see her once." Zhicun Tuanzang's voice was very gentle and did not disturb or affect others. "Master Tuanzang, please come with me." The attitude of Zhicun Tuanzang greatly increased the favor in the hearts of the Qianshou tribe. He originally thought that the other party would take over as the third-generation Hokage, so he put on an airs, but he didn't expect it to be so approachable. Step by step, Zhicun Tuanzang followed the footsteps of the Qianshou tribe and quickly arrived at a courtyard. I have to marvel at how great the foundation laid by Qianshou Kaijian and Qianshou for the Qianshou clan is. Just this courtyard is so large that it is touching, let alone the size of the entire Qianshou tribe's territory. If it weren't for the journey of Zhicun Tuanzang, the thousand-handed clan would probably be like a cake in the eyes of Ape Flying Sun Slash, slowly devouring the place. Lord Mito, Lord Tanzo has arrived. The thousand-handed clan member spoke cautiously after knocking on the door twice. "Come on in." A beautiful female voice came from inside the house, and then the Qianshou tribe members opened the door and hid in Chengzhi Village. Zhicun Tuanzang quickly entered it, and two figures came into view. The middle-aged woman with red hair is undoubtedly a Whirlpool Mito with 9 tails sealed inside her body. The traces of time have already appeared on her face, but it is not difficult to see that she was a charming beauty when she was young. And in her arms lay a charming and adorable little blonde loli. The only person who can sleep in the arms of the Whirlpool Mito like this, the entire Kiba, is her granddaughter, Tsunade. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 7. The Standing Method of Vortex Mito. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7, Sorry, Lord Mito. Zhicun Tuanzang bowed slightly, his words filled with apologies. After all, Qianshou Kaijian died to save them, so Zhicun Tuanzang and others still owe the Qianshou clan a debt. This is Fei Jian's decision, and I understand his feelings, so you don't have to feel guilty. The Vortex Mito's gaze was filled with indescribable complexity. Thank you for carrying back the body of the tomb. This kindness will be remembered by the thousand-handed clan forever. The words of Vortex Mito undoubtedly affirm Shimura Tanzo and indicate standing in line. And Vortex Mito also learned from the population such as Monkey Flying and Sun Slaying that there was absolutely no trace of fraud in the actions of Chengzhi Village Tuanzang. A person who can use their own life to kill back the encirclement of Yunyin Bao and carry a corpse back from the chaotic army. This courage, this loyalty, can be said to be unprecedented and unprecedented. Since you have already awakened, then you will preside over the funeral in the courtyard. After all, you are the third-generation Hokage designated by Kazuma and the person who carried him back from the battlefield. There was a hint of sadness in the tone of Vortex Mito, while the eyelashes of Tsunade's eyes in her arms trembled slightly, as if there were signs of awakening. Well, I'll start preparing for the teacher's funeral now. Zhicun Tuanzang nodded and said. I originally wanted to leave, but suddenly remembered Qianshou Kaima's dying words and turned to face the Whirlpool Mito. Lord Mito, before her death, the teacher asked me to personally teach Tsunade to become an excellent ninja. Of course, if Mr. Mito personally taught this child, I wouldn't have to intervene. These two words from Zhicun Tuanzang caused a slight change in the expression of Vortex Mito, with a hint of confusion in his eyes, but quickly became clear. In just a blink of an eye, she understood the meaning behind the thousand-handed door. Qianshou Kaijian had already planned everything and firmly tied Zhicun Tuanzang to the chariot of the Qianshou clan. Using this kindness, let Zhicun Tuanzang take care of the thousand-handed clan until he steps down from the position of Huoying. It has to be said that this abacus is done very well. Even the Whirlpool Mito did not expect that Qianshou Fei could even calculate this. If Gangshou is a disciple of the third-generation Hokage, then Qianshou's position among the leaves of wood will be very stable and will not be threatened too much. Since it's the last words of Fei Jian, let's follow them. When Gangshou is old enough, I will let her follow you to learn. Vortex Mito gently caressed Tsunato's back and smiled as he watched his adorable sleeping face. This granddaughter, it can be said that it was her last thought. I understand. I'll go prepare the teacher's funeral first. After saying goodbye, Zhicun Tuanzang opened the door and left for the position that would soon belong to him. And the Whirlpool Mito looked at the closed door, lost in thought, and then crystal-clear tears flowed from his eyes. Tears dripped onto Gangshou's finely carved cheeks, and then Gangshou seemed to have a hint of awakening. As Tsunade was about to wake up, Vortex Mito quickly stopped his tears. She cannot show her weakness in front of others, otherwise Qianshou will really be bullied. Soon, Zhicun Tuanzang arrived at the door of Huoying office. Click open the door and enter. But the scene before him made him feel a bit strange. The four people in front of me are just a few of my companions, who are sleeping with Xiaochun, Mito Menyan, Yukibo Mirror, and Ape Flying Sun Slash. The reason why Zhicun Tuanzang has a strange expression is because at this moment, Ape Flying Sun Slash is sitting on the Huoying office chair, checking the documents. Make this Hokage position seem to belong to him. When Ape Flying Sun Chop looked up and saw Zhicun Tuanzang, his face couldn't help but become awkward. Despite having a thick skin like the Great Wall, he couldn't resist the strange look in Zhicun Tuanzang's eyes. Mito Menyan and others didn't say anything, looking at the two with a theatrical expression. After all, the third-generation Hokage is a treasure trove of Zhicun, but your monkey Flying Sun Slash is sitting in his Hokage position. No matter how good the relationship is, there needs to be some degree. Obviously there is another intention. Even if these two are a pair of life and death good brothers, there must be some boundary in this regard. Tuanzang, I'm sorry. I thought you were still unconscious, so I took the initiative to handle your recent affairs. Monkey Flying Sun Zhan smiled awkwardly, then quickly left the Huoying office chair and sat next to Yuji Bojing. A set of actions, flowing smoothly, covering up awkwardness. But when he left, there was a hint of reluctance in his eyes, extremely secretive, but he was still caught by Zhicun Tuanzang's subtle expression. It's okay, Monkey Flying. It's different who's like the fire shadow. The two of us are different from each other. How about I go tell everyone that in the future, you will take on the position of fire shadow. Zhicun Tuanzang's face showed a naive and understanding smile, making it impossible to raise any malicious intent. And his words made Ape Flying Sun's face even more awkward, and Uchiha Kazumi, Mito Menyen, and Watanabe Koharu were even more gloating. Let your monkey Flying Sun Slash rely on the second-generation Hokage to give orders all day long. No one will help you this time, right? No. Tuanzang, you are the third-generation Hokage designated by the teacher. The reason why the teacher did this is definitely because he believes that your ability is even stronger than ours, and you can lead Kiba towards glory. Monkey Flying Sun Slash pressed the desire in his heart and waved his hand awkwardly, laughing. But in fact, he really wanted to respond to the words spoken by Shimizu Tanzo in his heart, but if he did so, it would indicate his ambition for the position of Hokage. What he needs to do now is to make Zhicun Tuanzang believe that he has no desire for the position of Hokage, and then alright. Prepare for the teacher's funeral, using the highest specifications of wooden leaves. So members of Kiba must be present, those who are not present will be expelled from Kiba. Zhicun Tuanzang sat on the Huoying office chair with a cold expression and spoke seriously. And Zhicun Tuanzang's words also made everyone's hearts tremble. Because they all knew that the sky had changed for Kiba, and the new Hokage would use his wrist to tell her even the entire realm of ninja. Kiba did not collapse due to the death of the second-generation Hokage. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 8. Funeral in a Thousand-Handed Door. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 8 15 Years of Wooden Leaves June 5th. For the common people in the ninja world, this may be a day when the flames of war have dissipated. But for everyone in Kiba, this is a painful and sad day. The gray sky was devoid of any light, and a terrifying cloud enveloped the entire wooden leaf. A drizzling rain poured down from the sky. Today, a pioneer of the flourishing era of wood leaves will be buried here. All the villagers of my village were dressed in black mourning clothes, and the ninjas also put away their protective covers. The civilians closed their hands in silence. All the dolls lost their vitality from the past, their eyes low and filled with grief. The iron rule of ninja. Ninjas must not shed tears or reveal their emotions at any time. This sentence it was told to them by 1,000 hands. But the phrase that has been remembered in the heart of ninjas in the past has gone unnoticed today, no matter who it is. Every ninja, every common person in Kiba, has an indescribable sadness on their face. Everyone stared at the coffin on the wooden square, letting the rain hit their cheeks. Someone tightly closed their eyes, bit their lips lightly, and suppressed the tears in their eyes. Someone looked up at the sky, letting the rain drip on their cheeks. Tears and rain combined, making it impossible to see. Some strong ninjas gently patted their companions and silently comforted those around them. Everyone is mourning, and no one dares to speak up at this moment. The members of Uchiha's clan and their clan leader also had complex expressions and a myriad of emotions in their hearts. Because Qianshou Kaijian did not mistreat them, they were asked to establish a security force called the Kiba Guard. Although far from the political center of the village, it has also brought the reputation of the Uchiha clan to its peak among the leaves of wood. So for this man who is both an opponent and a companion, they couldn't even feel a trace of joy in their hearts. But in their hearts, they do admire the powerful political skills that no one dares to have the idea of causing trouble. Vortex Mito, tears streaming down his eyes as he quietly gazed into the thousand-handed door. Gangshou beside him was already crying loudly, eager to step over the coffin and touch Qianshou's door. Soon Gangshou cried and fainted. Mito, let me hold her. Zhicun Tuanzang saw a hint of fatigue between the eyebrows of Vortex Mito, and knew that the other party had been very tired these past few days, so he wanted to take the Tsunadu in her arms. Well, thank you, Tuanzang. Whirlpool Mito did not refuse and handed the hand of Tsunadu in his arms to Shimura Tuanzang. In the front row, there were several people standing, all of whom were the closest disciples of Qianshou Kaima during his lifetime. Vortex Mito, Gangshou, Shimura Tuanzang, Monkey Flying Sun Slash, Turn Sleep Koharu, Mito Menyen, Yukibo Mirror. Next up are the high-ranking officials of Mai, as well as the family chiefs and the thousand-handed clan members. In the end, both the ninjas and the common people of Kiba prayed in their hearts for the thousand-handed door. Cover it up. Zhicun Tuanzang realized that the time had come and whispered to Mito Menyen beside him. Click pup quickly, the coffin between the 1,000 hands closed. Woo-woo woo-woo the mournful sound of the flute echoed through the sky, and dark clouds enveloped the entire sky. Boom! A thunderbolt sounded in the sky, and in an instant, it rained heavily. Amidst everyone's crying and attention, Qianshou Fun was finally buried. Buried next to the thousand-handed pillar. Step by step Zhicun Tuanzang was the first to approach, holding a white chrysanthemum and placing it in front of the tombstone between the thousand-handed gates. Looking at the portrait in front of the tombstone, Zhicun Tuanzang fell into a moment of contemplation. No one dares to urge Zhicun Tuanzang, because everyone knows that at this moment he is the successor of the second generation Hokage. It's already 3 generations of Hokage, but there was no coronation ceremony. Teacher Fei Jian, walk well. Quickly, Zhicun Tuanzang walked down. After setting down the white chrysanthemum, the eyes of the Whirlpool Mito were filled with grief, and his body was on the verge of collapse. Mito Lord. Zhicun Tuanzang had eye problems and quickly stepped forward to support the Whirlpool water door. Then he gave a glance to Zhuan Lai Xiaochun and asked her to support the Whirlpool Mito down to rest. Gangshou woke up again, tightly holding onto the tombstone between his 1,000 hands and refusing to let go. The sound of crying seemed to echo through the sky. But in the end, he cried and got tired. Zhicun Tuanzang picked him up and handed him over to the people of the 1,000-armed clan. Everyone placed the white chrysanthemum in their hands in front of the tombstone between the 1,000-handed gates, and then bowed deeply. An old man from Ai recited the achievements of Qianshou Kaijian during his lifetime, and everyone listened carefully, afraid of missing any word. Quickly. The old man finished reading the last word and closed the text. Soon, the funeral came to an end. Many people slowly left the cemetery with painful expressions on their faces. But there were also many people who did not leave, but closely watched the portrait in the thousands of hands. Some even fainted from crying and fell unconscious on the ground. From this point, it can be seen that the Hokage in Qianshou Kaijian is very competent, surpassing the shadows of Qianshou Zhujian and even the other 4 major powers. He is the pioneer of the leaf of wood, a person who devoted his whole life to it. He could have chosen to leave using the Flying Thunder God technique, but in his old age, he chose to use his own life to pave the way for Kiba's future hope. Where the leaves dance, fire never stops. The firelight will continue to illuminate the village and sprout new leaves. This is the will of fire in 1,000 hands. The legend has come to an end, and a new successor to the will of fire has emerged. This time, Qianshou Fun did not choose the wrong person. He chose Zhicun Tuanzang, which is the most correct choice. Falling red is not a heartless thing, it turns into spring mud to protect the flowers. This is the best line of poetry that interprets the life of a 1,000-handed fire shadow. There are no absolute good people, nor are there absolute bad people. Qianshou Kaima may have had some disgrace in his life, but he is a respected ninja. Qingming outing in happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 9. The ninja tools of gold and silver horns are in my hands. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. My village, conference hall. At this moment, the conference hall is full of people. And those who can sit here are the high-rise buildings and pillars of my, as well as the chiefs of various families. The people who can let them stay here so peacefully are naturally the 3 generations of Hokage village. Ladies and gentlemen, if there is anything wrong with my Huoying, please be patient. After scanning around, Zhicun Tuanzang wore a faint smile on his face. Although he had a friendly expression on his face, no one dared to show any contempt towards this young fire shadow. He is designated as the 3rd generation Hokage by the 2nd generation Hokage, and he has been with each other for so long, which is really hard to underestimate. Lord Huoying, what should we do on Yunnin's side? At this moment, Yuji Boeing spoke up and asked. The death between 1,000 hands is due to the golden and silver horns of Yunnin. Even if the golden horn and silver horn rebelled and perished together with the 2nd generation Hokage, they still couldn't swallow this breath. Because the impact of this incident was too great, the morale of the entire ninja in Kiba was extremely low, and the sacrifice of the 2nd generation Hokage was also a significant loss for Kiba. Yunyin doesn't need to worry for now. Their future 3 generations of Lei Ying will personally come to apologize. After pondering for a long time, Zhicun Tuanzang slowly said. What? Master Huoying, are you joking? How could Lei Ying possibly come to our village? Everyone was shocked and expressed disbelief in what Zhicun Tuanzang said. Because this is too absurd, it's simply unbelievable. 3rd generation Lei Ying apologizes to Muye. This is simply nonsense. Doesn't he know how bad the relationship between Muye and Yunyin is now? Even if Muye comes, everyone will definitely not let him go back alive. Of course it's not a joke. As for whether what I said is true or not, let's wait and see. Zhicun Tuanzang said with a serious and indifferent expression. After explaining some things and informing various departments to pay attention to recent developments in other countries, the meeting ended. Zhicun Tuanzang, who had just returned to the Huoying office, had not had a chance to rest when the office door was opened again. Yuzhibwa Jing, Ape Flying Sun Slash and 4 others arrived at the Huoying office together, seemingly having something to say to Zhicun Tuanzang. First of all, come and help me handle the government affairs. It made my head big. Zhicun Tuan, with a head full of black lines, pointed to the pile of documents on the table and on both sides and said. For a while, Monkey Flying Sun Slaying and others didn't know what to say. But they can see that if they don't help the other party handle these affairs, they probably won't listen to any of their words. Time quickly arrived in the evening, and the files were almost processed. Yuzhibwa and others lay on the sofa with a tired expression on their faces. They didn't expect Hokage to have so many things to deal with on a daily basis. If it weren't for their help, Zhicun Tuanzang would probably have to deal with it for a few days to finish. But only the Monkey Flying Sun Slash did not tire at all, and instead was very enthusiastic about this kind of thing. Others naturally didn't have the leisure to pay attention to the Monkey Flying Sun Slash, and all of this was hidden in the eyes of Zhicun Tuan. It can be said that this guy is indeed quite suitable for being a Hokage, but it's just suitable. He Zhicun Tuanzang is even more suitable as a fire shadow than the Monkey Flying Sun Slash. Tell me, what's up with you looking for me? Zhicun Tuanzhi sat on the Huoying office chair and looked seriously at the 4 people in front of him. Tuanzang, are you really so confident on Yunin's side? You know they are a group of lunatics, it's impossible for them to negotiate with Kiba so calmly. Maybe the war will continue to break out. Yuzhibwa said seriously and solemnly. Kiba lost a shadow-level powerhouse, which was a huge blow for them. If Yunyin were to go to war with Muye again at this time, it would probably be difficult to resist Yunyin's army. Don't worry, I had already met the teacher when I came back. And it was the future 3 generations of Hokage that gave me a way out, and they promised to definitely come to Kiba. Besides, the ninja tools of gold and silver horns are still in my hands, they have to come. Zhicun Tuanzang's faint smile was full of confidence. And his words also made everyone's eyes suddenly hot and full of shock. Are all the ninja tools of gold and silver horns in your hands? Monkey Flying Sun Slash swallowed deeply and said in disbelief. You should know that the ninja tool with golden and silver horns is a legendary ninja tool passed down from the 6 immortals. The power is unparalleled, even shadow-level powerhouses have to temporarily avoid the sharpness and dare not confront them. In the early stages of the war, Ape Flying Sun Slash had a brief encounter with Silver Horn, and the function of the golden rope still lingers in his memory. If it weren't for the joint efforts of Zhicun Tuanzang and others to help, I'm afraid I would have really died under the acceptance of Injiao. And the 2 golden and silver horns also dominated the entire ninja world with the power of the 6 ninja tools. He managed to tie Yunyin and Muye, who were vastly different in strength, resulting in heavy casualties for the troops facing Jin Jiao and Yin Jiao. If it weren't for the presence of 1,000 hands and the repeated success of the raid plan, it is likely that Mai would have been defeated step by step under the attack of Yunyin. Well, when I was reciting back to the teacher, I put away the 6 ninja tools of gold and silver horns in advance. Zhicun Tuanzang's words made Ape Flying Sun's mood suddenly heavy to the extreme. If that's the case, so it's a bit difficult to get started on myself. No wonder you think that the 3rd generation of Thunder Shadow will come in person. If it's the 6 Paths ninja tool, it's worth them coming. Mito Menyan nodded and said with a clear expression on his face. Zhicun Tuanzang still had a faint smile on his face, but he shifted his attention to Ape Flying Sun Slash. The subtle change in expression did not escape the eyes of Shimura Tanzo, it was just not revealed. Ape flying. I am the Hokage. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 10. Gangshou. Are you the monkey flying group treasure? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. The next day, Zhicun Tuan hid and left the Huoying building after handling the Huoying affairs. After all, yesterday, Monkey Flying Sun Slayer and others helped him complete many affairs, so it didn't take much time today. And the people in the wooden leaves are not dead, and not all affairs must be handed over to Zhicun Tuanzang for handling. What do the other ninjas responsible for handling all the big and small matters if they are left to Shimura Tuanzang to handle? So today, Zhicun Tuanzang had a rare leisurely time and came to the land of the Qianshou tribe. He did not forget to promise the last words of Qianshou's hang. Teach Tsunado personally to make him an excellent ninja. At first, Zhicun Tuanzang refused, but Gangshou's cute and adorable appearance was truly pitiable. Moreover, the Vortex Mito also indicates that he is standing on his side, and being close to the Thousand-Hand clan is not a bad thing. By the way, I will also return the weapon Thunder God sword from Qianshou Fong to the Qianshou clan. Although this sword is a treasure, Zhicun Tuanzang is not very interested. It would be better to give it back to the Thousand-Handed clan as a friendly gesture. By the way, I can also boost my popularity, why not do it? 3rd generation Hokage Lord, why did you come? A scream came, which made Zhicun Tuanzang quite familiar. Turning around, he saw that this person was the Qianshou tribe member who had led Zhicun Tuanzang to the location of Vortex Mito last time. Well, I have some teacher's belongings here that I forgot when I was busy before, but now I'm returning them. Zhicun Tuanzang nodded and said. So that's the case. Please do as you please. I believe you still remember the location of the yard. After hearing the intention of Zhicun Tuanzang's arrival, the Qianshou tribe member's nervous expression relaxed slightly, as if he had unloaded some weight. It can be seen that he still faces a lot of pressure when facing Zhicun Tuanzang, otherwise he wouldn't be so serious and nervous. Remember. By the way, what's your name? As the Qianshou tribe member turned around and was about to leave, Zhicun Tuanzang suddenly called out to the other person and asked. Lord Huoying, my name is Qianshou Zhou. For a moment, Zhicun Tuanzang was shocked by the other party's name. Seeing Zhicun Tuanzang's expression suddenly froze, his eyes filled with shock. Qianshou Zhou expression became even more tense, and cold sweat kept dripping from his forehead. You should know that Lord Mito once issued an order that the Qianshou clan members must not engage in any conflict with the current Hokage, otherwise they will be expelled from the Qianshou clan. After hearing his name, Chengzhi Village Tuan was shocked, which made Qianshou Zhou mood sink to the bottom, with a mix of cold sweat behind his back. Fire! 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 Fire Shadow Lord, may I ask if you have anything else to do? Qianshou Zhou worked hard to control his emotions, Zhang Zhanka said. But one could completely hear the trembling and fear in his voice. It is obvious that he was frightened by the sudden action of Zhicun Tuanzang, otherwise how could a big man be like this? No, it's nothing. You go get busy with it. After realizing his mistake, Zhicun Tuanzang quickly waved his hand and said. Upon hearing these words, Qianshou Zhou immediately felt relieved of his burden and hurriedly left the site of Zhicun Tuanzang, smearing oil on his feet. Sure enough. The other world really has any name. Zhicun group hides all kinds of roast in its heart. Immediately, he cleared up his emotions and left, heading towards the location where the Whirlpool Mito was located. When Zhicun Tuanzang arrived at the last courtyard, he found that the Whirlpool Mito was sitting in the courtyard. Not far away, there was a blonde little loli sitting cross-legged on the rock, her eyes closed. This blonde little loli is truly Gangshou. Upon seeing the arrival of Shimura Tanzo, the Whirlpool Mito also looked surprised and quickly stood up. Third generation Hokage, why did you come? The term Whirlpool Mito immediately plunged Zhicun Tuanzang into a bitter smile. Master Mito, please don't harm me. You should call me Tuanzang instead. I dare not accept this title. Zhicun Tuanzang suddenly said with a bitter smile on his face. Okay. I'll entrust you, let's call you Tuanzang. A hint of apology appeared on the face of the Whirlpool Mito, but his heart was very satisfied. Mito, I'm here to return the teacher's belongings. After speaking, Zhicun Tuanzang took out the thunder sword from the system space. Zizi the golden lightning on the body of the thunder god's sword danced wildly, and a strong and familiar chakra filled the air. And the chakra crown attached to it was left by Qianshou Kaima during his lifetime. The thunder god's sword. Vortex Mito looked closely at the sword in front of him, flickering with lightning light, and murmured. After a long silence, take this sword, you are the designated fire shadow of the door, and naturally have the right to inherit it. Don't refuse. Vortex Mito shook his head and pushed the thunder god's sword to Zhicun Tuanzang. The last sentence had an unquestionable tone, making it impossible for Zhicun Tuanzang to refuse for a while. Okay then. Zhicun Tuanzang smiled helplessly and could only reluctantly retrieve the thunder god's sword. You happen to be here today, let Gangshou get to know you. Just as the words of the Whirlpool Mito had just finished speaking, Gangshou, who was closing his eyes and recuperating in the distance, opened his eyes at this moment. Huoying's eyes were filled with curiosity as she looked at Zhicun Tuanzang in front of her. Are you the monkey flying group Tsang mentioned by Grandpierre? Ah. I'm looking for some flowers and evaluation tickets, and I'll work hard every day for 5 shifts, Qiming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.